everyone. It is that time of the year once again, vinyl tag season. And this year, David Atkinson has taken over the unofficial 2026 vinyl tag. So we will see you on the flip side and let you know what the prompts are. Hello everyone, Daryl the Northern Vinyl Guy coming at you with another video. And this is the second to last one. I'll be doing one more to end the year off. But in true fashion, you know, we have our vinyl tag season. And this is my third vinyl tag video. It's actually the tag that got my channel started. The very first video I ever did was the vinyl tag 2024, and so without further ado, we're gonna do David Atkinsons. He's got 20 prompts. If you haven't checked out David's channel, I'll leave a link down below to the original video. But yeah, 20 prompts, just showing off your collection and all those kind of things. And this year, really cool questions. I'm gonna have a lot of records to put away after this this tag, but other than that, let's get started. I'm gonna reach over here and grab my little book. So first question is to show your best purchase of 2025, and this was one that I was actually surprised. I've shown this recently, but back in October, I went to a record store south of where I am, and I managed to pick up this one here, Tonic's Lemon Parade. This is a repress. You know, finding an original copy of this from the 1990s is, you know, a little bit pricey, but I was a little bit surprised to find this. You know, I wasn't particularly looking for it, but when I was flipping through, I found this, and in fact, the shop that I went to actually had 2 copies of this. If you're not familiar with Tonic and Lemon Parade, we're looking at a little bit of alternative, post-grunge, maybe even a little bit of indie-ish music. But I think that this is a near perfect album, if not perfect album. They were known for If You Could Only See, kind of a one-hit wonder of the 90s, but I think that this is a great album. Soldier's Daughter's amazing. Lemon Parade, the title track. Wicked Soldier and Mr. Golden Deal are all fantastic tracks from this album. So, you know, I think I got a really good deal. Like I said, I wasn't really looking for this, and came across it because I didn't know if I'd ever see it again in a record store. So Tonic's Lemon Parade. All right, question number 2, your favorite live experience of 2025. Well, if you've been watching my channel long enough, you will know I live in a pretty remote rural community, and so going to concerts is pretty much out of the question. However, I do have some live albums in my collection, and this is one of the newer ones that I got, and it's on a really cool green record. I got this as VCLT from Joe at Racer Records, but this is April Wine live at the Macombo, and as you can see, that is you know, VCLT from is on a vinyl store. But this has got a lot of April Wine, of course, Canadian 70s 80s rock band. A lot of their hits, including Tonight Is a Wonderful Night, Oh What a Night. I can't remember if there's anything on the backside. Teenage Love. Anyway, live at the Macombo. Oh, flip that up. They're a great band, though. If you like that Canadian 80s rock music, you will like this. And as I mentioned, it's on cool green splatterish kind of wax. So that one's a neat one. So yeah, I didn't go to any live concerts. However, that would be an album that I got from a live venue. All right, question number 3, prompt number 3. Your collection in 10 years' time. Will it be bigger, smaller, or the same? Well, I'm hoping that in 10 years' time, I will have moved from my current location. So depending on how things go, I'm going to have quite a few records to bring with me. And most people know that moving and records, these things are heavy, they're bulky. As much as I don't want to, I may have to downsize, but we will see. But I would predict that it'll be likely the same size, maybe a tiny bit larger. But other than that, I think that's where we will be in 10 years' time. All right, question 4, prompt number 4. You move to a new home and you turn your volume to 11 to announce your arrival into the neighborhood. What record are you going to play, or what song are you going to play? Well, this is also a recent purchase of mine, and one that I was happy with. It's one of my favorite albums from the 90s, and that is Van Halen's Balance. I could have went with 5150 or some of the other Van Halen 80s, rock music to blast it up to, but I'm going to go with this one. This is my favorite Van Halen album. I would probably start by blasting the title, not the title track, but the first track on the 7th Seal, which is followed by Can't Stop Loving You and then Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do, which are all bangers. Maybe even throw on some Big Fat Money and Strung Out, Aftershock. So really cool stuff. And the thing that I think is really cool about this one is that the side 4 of this is, there's no tracks, but you can kind of see it in the glare there. It's an etching of the Leonardo da Vinci drawing. I think it's called the Venetian Man or the Venusian Man, something like that. Anyway, really cool, unplayable side, but this is the orange wax version of this album. So I would be playing some Van Halen to announce my arrival into the neighborhood. All right, question 5. Show your favorite male and female singers using one album. This one was tricky to do because, I'm not sure if I have a specific favorite male and or female, but this comes pretty close to it. I've talked about both of these musicians almost ad nauseum at times on my channel. But we'll go with the Canadian Amanda Marshall. This one here is a gatefold. 1990s kind of maybe alternative bluesy, soft pop kind of music. On our Wednesday night show with me, Rob, and Joe on Northern Revolution's Wednesday night show. Myself and Rob have talked about her, kind of compared her maybe to being the Canadian Sheryl Crow, so to speak. Might be some disagreement on that, but she did have a multitude of hits here in Canada. The one that went big in the United States would be Birmingham. But once again, if I'm going to talk about an album that is near perfect, if not completely perfect, would be the self-titled debut from Amanda Marshall. So I'm going to go with that as my favorite female artist. And then my favorite male artist, this is when he was in a band, Bruce Hornsby and the Range. There he is right in the middle. Of course, the rest of them are the Range. This is the Scenes from the South Side album. An amazing songwriter, amazing piano player. Does a lot of song with mandolins and different instruments, and just talks about all kinds of different issues in society, going all the way to, from racism to environmental issues to small town issues. This one here has Look Out Any Window, The Valley Road. Those would be the big ones. Also did a cover of Huey Lewis and the News's Jacob's Ladder. The Show Goes On, which is off the, which is also on the not the Back to the Future, the Backdraft motion picture soundtrack. So he is a fantastic musician, and yeah, one of my favorite male artists for sure. Bruce Hornsby. All right, next question. Show your top 3 soul or dance albums. I don't know if I'm gonna, I wouldn't say these are my top 3, but these are 3 that I definitely do enjoy. We will start off with the 1950s and 60s here, with the doo-wop group, the Platters. Doo-wop, soul, don't want to call it funk because it's not funk, but we'll go with doo-wop and soul for sure. This one always reminds me of my grandfather, and in fact, this was my grandfather's copy, a 1987, I believe it is, comp. But this has all the big hits: The Great Pretender, You've Got the Magic Touch, Only You, My Prayer, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. All the big ones, the Platters, with some soul doo-wop music. The next one I'm going to show with some soul is another compilation, Greatest Hits. The Righteous Brothers, which are fantastic. Definitely got that soul. Also did a copy of The Great Pretender, but of course Unchained Melody, You've Lost That Love and Feeling. Those are the big ones by the Righteous Brothers, and this one here is on that Verve label. And last but not least, from the 90s, we're going to go with a little bit of dance. This is just generic cover here, but when I was in high school, I had this on CD, and that is Chris Shepherd's Have a Nice Day, which is also a compilation of different dance artists and dance tracks. But this one has Window in the Sky. It has, what was that? There was a hit on here. What was it? The Key, The Secret by the Urban Cookie Collective. That would be the big track that was on here. But I think this one here is pretty cool from start to finish. Two Fat Guitars by Direct, I Can't Stop by Mellow Mellow, Window in the Sky, Terminator 2, and more. This one here is a 2-disc set. So once again, Chris Shepherd, Have a Nice Day. All right, up next, a real stinker, number 7, a real stinker. So show a track you hate from an album that you love. Well, I would argue that I don't necessarily hate tracks. That's a pretty strong word, but there is one track from this album here, Live's Throwing Copper, and I'm a huge fan of Live. At least their first 4 or 5 albums were really well done. Lead singer Ed Kowalczyk kind of became a bit of a butthead in the 2000s, you know, breaking up the band and that kind of thing, or just leaving the band for specific reasons. But there is a track on here called TBD, and I just don't think it fits the album very well. You know, this is the one that has Selling the Drama and I Alone. It has Iris. It's got Lightning Crashes, All Over You. These were all big singles in the 90s alternative world. But TBD, like I said, it's just really, I don't know. It's downtrodden. I don't know, it just doesn't fit the album per se. And I know that, you know, just kind of trying to do the whole, I don't want to call it the Tibetan Buddhist thing, but just it's way too much of a downer for that particular album. So we'll go with TBD from Live's Throwing Copper album. All right, prompt number 8. pick one album from the last 6 decades. So one album from each of the last 6 decades. I kind of did that in one of the previous ones with the soul, with the 60s, but I'm going to start with the 60s. And we're going to look at a little psych / garage rock, I guess you would call it. Iron Butterflies, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. I believe this is from 1968. Yeah, this is a Canadian press, but it doesn't have the date on it specifically, but I believe it's 1968, 67, 68, but psych rock. And of course, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. This is not the radio edit of the song. It is 17 minutes long. This is on the Atco label, but 17 minutes long, taking up the entirety of side 2. So it's a great song. I'm glad they made a radio edit so that it can't be played on a radio. But side 1 is not bad either. Obviously, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida is the song that they're most known for, but Most Anything You Want. Flowers and Beads is a pretty good song. And then side 1 finishes off with My Mirage, Termination, and Are You Happy? So yeah, we'll go with that. Psych rock from the 1960s. For the 1970s, I don't show this album very often, but we'll go with Elton John and his Honky Chateau album, which is a really cool album. I think it's neat how this one kind of opens up, not like a puzzle, but it locks in place. And yeah, so this is the one that has Honky Cat on it, Rocket Man, and some of the others. So a really depressing track. I think I'm going to kill myself on here. Don't know if we can say that live, but I guess I just did. Honky Chateau, Elton John, classic from the 1970s. I believe it's 1972. 1980s, we're going to go with a musician who belonged to a one-hit wonder band in the 70s. And then he went solo, but he also was part of another mainstream band in the 1980s, and that is Paul Carrack. Probably one of my favorite albums of the 1980s, actually, Paul Carrack's One Good Reason. Of course, if you're not familiar with Paul Carrack, belonged to the band Ace in the early 70s. They had a one-hit wonder track here in North America with How Long. And then this album is his solo album, and he had a couple of big hits here in North America. When You Walk in the Room, Give Me a Chance, and Don't Shed a Tear are the big ones. But I think, once again, if we're talking, in my opinion, near perfect albums, I would say this one meets that bill. So Paul Carrack and One Good Reason. All right, 1990s. Well, probably my favorite grunge band of all time. We're going to go with Alice in Chains and the Jar of Flies album. If you are looking into grunge music, or at least Alice in Chains, you want to know a place to get started, I would go with this album here. I know I don't have the copy that had the SAP EP, so this was released as an EP, but some of the versions came with the SAP EP as well. I don't have that one. Yeah, this one is great, start to finish. Rotten Apple, Stay Away, I Stay Away, No Excuses, Don't Follow. Huge tracks, and yeah, just a really neat album in general. So give that one a go. If you are not a huge grunge fan, I would definitely go with that. All right, the 2000s. I don't have any 2000s albums, so this one here, like not from 2000 to 2000 and I'd say 18, it's going to kind of encompass all that. This is a compilation album, but these guys mainly performed in the 2000s and 2010s. The Best of Nickelback Volume 1. And this one here, if you are a Nickelback fan and you don't have it, this one here is great, fantastic. Even if you aren't a Nickelback fan, you gotta play these guys. They're amazing. This one has all their hits: Photograph, How You Remind Me, Rockstar, Burn It to the Ground, If Today Was Your Last Day, Someday, If Everyone Cared, Gotta Be Somebody, When We Stand Together, and more. There you go, Chad Kroeger and the guys, Nickelback. And because I don't have any from like that entire era, but I do have one from I believe this is from 2022 or 2023. It's a more recent purchase for me. And that is Steven Sanchez and Angel Face, which I think is a great album. So not too many musicians playing the style of the 1950s and 60s anymore. So I talked about the Platters and the Righteous Brothers earlier. This album here is kind of in the style, if you think of like the Everly Brothers and the Righteous Brothers. He has taken the style, even the music videos he does is all that 1960s style, and I think that this is a fantastic production. If you haven't checked out Steven Sanchez, definitely give this one a go. So that finishes off my 2000s, 2020s. All right, so there we go. Hope that that done us well. All right, prompt number 9. One artist you would like to spend a day alone with. Well, I think Weird Al is a pretty cool guy. I would spend a full day with him, maybe sipping on a couple of margaritas or whatever it is, and just hanging around. So if you were walking down the street or hanging around at the beach or whatever it is, this is the artist I would go with. And then the next prompt says, what is one question that you would ask him? And of course, most of us know that Weird Al is known for his parodies. Back in the early 2010s, late 2000s, I was part of just a local band. And I actually made a record of our band's music. It's got like 8 or 9 tracks on it. And so what would I ask him? I would say, hey, Weird Al, could you listen to my album? And would you be willing to parody a song from my album? So I think that that's what I would do if I was with Weird Al. Have him parody one of my copies. All right, question number 10. Question number 11. An album with a track that brings you to tears, or are you just a heartless bastard? Well, I'm not heartless, but I definitely, when I hear Mike and the Mechanics, and it is the title track, In the Living Years, or The Living Years, to me, one of the saddest songs. There's plenty of reaction videos on YouTube, people reacting. It's a pretty sad song, about not getting to say the things you wanted to say before somebody passes away. So that there is an emotional song and gets me every time. All right. Number 12, 3 albums from artists you've tried to love, but just question why you have them in your collection. And, on our Wednesday shows, I've talked about some of these a few times. And I don't get them. Why do I have them in my collection? Well, 2 of them for sure. It's because I was gifted them by my brother or other people. And the first of these is going to be ABBA. I just don't get it. I'm going to have to give this another listen. I know lots of people like them. But there are lots in the VC that definitely don't. The big thing is that when Frida went solo, I actually don't mind her solo music. But ABBA as a whole, I don't know what it is. I just don't get it. And I definitely don't like their disco era of music. Dancing Queen and all that kind of stuff. I just don't get it. All right, another one I don't get, and some people have told me to listen to their 70s and early stuff. A lot of people think that their 80s is crap, and I will agree that it is. This was gifted to me. I just don't get the hype of Daryl Hall and John Oates. And in fact, when the Toronto Maple Leafs, my favorite hockey team, a few years back, had You Make My Dreams Come True as their goal scoring song, it just Well, it's cringeworthy. One of the worst goal-scoring songs that's ever been used in an NHL arena. I don't get it. Private Eye is overplayed. A lot of their 80s stuff just, not for me. And the third one, as much as I respect him for what he has done in the music industry, and I know that he's hyped up as a singer-songwriter and all that kind of thing, and he's had hundreds and hundreds of hits. It's Bob Dylan. To quote somebody that I know, kind of sounds like somebody sliding their behind on a cheese grater when he sings. I can't say that I disagree. I don't necessarily like his voice, and I think that this is all I'll ever need is Bob Dylan's greatest hits. Yeah, I don't listen to it very often, and quite honestly, don't get it. All right. Prompt 13. Show an album by an artist whose character disappoints you. Excuse me. Or can you separate the music from the artist? Well, for the most part, I can separate the music from the artist for sure. I'm going to go with Don Henley. He's not, I wouldn't say he's as controversial as some of the other ones. I don't have, Ted Nugent or Van Morrison, guys like that. I don't have any of them. So I'm going to go with Don Henley. He's just kind of egotistical. This idea of blocking songs and blacking them out all over YouTube. The fact of the matter is, we're the listeners. We're kind of promoting you, and here you are preventing it. You're a multi-millionaire. And not to mention, you and Glenn Fry and the members of the band. You and Glenn Fry ruined the Eagles. Yeah, I don't know if we're ever going to see a complete reunion of these guys, obviously with Glenn Fry being dead now, but yeah, he's just kind of a arrogant goofball. All right, question 14, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of combine this actually with question 18. I'm going to use the same album. If you had to sell your vinyl and your turntable, so all of my vinyl and my turntable, what is the one album I would keep as my keepsake? And then the follow-up question to that, 18, is, you are not guilty, but you are on death row. What would be your last minute music request before they put you to death? So I'm going to go with the same album. So the one that I would keep, funny enough, I've talked about this many times, is my Minecraft Alpha soundtrack. The reason is this was gifted to me as a Christmas gift by my daughter. She was going to college at the time. Didn't have to give us anything, but she chose to find this, and I believe she got it from Germany on Amazon. Not sure. So that one there is the one that I would keep. Now, you say to yourself, well, why would you want to have this as your last music request on death row? And my answer is simple. This is one of the most chill, mellow, put you to sleep records that are out there. And I think that if I was on death row and I wanted to go out quietly and peacefully, I would want to be listening to some peaceful music, such as the Minecraft soundtrack. So that is my offering for that morbid question. And I know that it's not a question that's on here, but David Atkinson, seeing that you're from the UK, my last meal request would be shepherd's pie or cottage pie. No doubt about that. I know lots of people go with the steak and potatoes thing, but I would go with a shepherd's pie or cottage pie. That would be my last meal request. All right, question 15. What is my VC highlight from 2025? It could be, a meetup or a video that you did or any of those things. I am going to go with the video that I made earlier this year about my music-related board games and vinyl. So I do have some vinyl board games. In fact, there's one game that I do have called Vinyl, the board game in which you are trying to, crate dig and stuff like that to try to get the most points. It didn't receive a lot of views, but I will leave the link definitely down below to that original video, and you can check it out. But I guess it's the video that I was the most proud of. I even did some clips in the video on how to play the games and things like that. So there was one called Vinyl, there's one called On Tour, in which you are a band and you're traveling across the United States, and you roll a dice and you're trying to connect to different places on the map. So that was my video that I was the most proud of. All right, number 16. What is your favorite biopic? Music biopic? I don't really watch biopics. I was going to go with Motley Crue and The Dirt, but instead I'm going to go with a book. I know it's not a biopic per se. It's more of an autobiography or a biography. But I'm going to go with Perfect Union of Contrary Things. You know, written by Sarah Jensen with Maynard James Keenan. If you're not familiar with Maynard James Keenan, he is the lead singer from Tool. And this is kind of, the book about how Tool came to be and, what his life was like growing up. He was in the military, a very smart man. And so I think that this is a pretty cool biography or autobiography, whatever you might want to call it. Check this one out if you don't already have it and you're interested in Maynard James Keenan. One of the previous questions about a musician that you would like to spend a day with, he would be another one. If I was to go back and answer that question again, I would actually ask Maynard. He owns a vineyard, Merkin Vineyard, in, I believe it's Arizona. And I would ask him, why a vineyard? Why did you get into the hobby of wine and all that kind of stuff? What piques your interest? So I wouldn't even ask him a music related question. I would definitely have asked him about his vineyard. All right, question 17. Why does Jazz Matter show 3 albums you have in your collection as to why jazz matters? Well, I don't really collect jazz. I do have Count Basie and a couple others. I've shown them recently in some of my videos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show 3 artists that were influenced by jazz music. So we're going to start with the one and only Rod Stewart, who has actually stated that Al Jolson and some of the earlier jazz musicians influenced him and his music interest in becoming a musician. And of course, Rod Stewart was a gravedigger at one point before he became a musician. So this is the A Night on the Town album, which has Tonight's the Night, and of course, First Cut is the Deepest. Those are the big tracks on here. I know not everybody's into Rod Stewart, but I think it's important to recognize that jazz has influenced many hundreds, if not thousands, of musicians over the years. Another musician that's been strongly influenced by jazz, and you know he has, because it's in his music, is Canada's own, out of Montreal, Gino Vannelli. This is the Power People album. If you're not familiar with Gino Vannelli, this one here, the big hit off of this one is People Gotta Move. But he does a lot of soft pop. I don't want to call it jazz fusion, but jazz pop, that kind of thing. It's all over his music, especially his 1970s albums. So check him out if you have not done so. The back of this album is just the lyrics. And most of his music is done on the A&M. But yeah, he's been heavily influenced, and you can tell in his music. And last but not least, some of the members of Metallica were influenced by jazz. I forget who it was. Was it Lars? I think it might have been Lars. Anyway, one of the members, their family owned, I think it was a bar or something, and a lot of the jazz musicians used to go in, perform, and so they've been influenced by jazz. So even the big metal musicians, to some extent, are influenced by jazz and prog music and that kind of thing. So there we go. Number 17, why does jazz matter? Prompt number 19, because I already did 18, which was the one about death row. So prompt number 19 is sell your favorite artist to a new listener. Well, I'm going to go with my favorite Canadian band of all time, and that is Glass Tiger. This one here is the Thin Red Line album, which was their first one. So I'm going to try to sell you, if you are familiar with Canada's one and only Bryan Adams. Bryan Adams is on the track Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone, right there, which was the big one even in the United States. It went top 40. So he is a background singer on that, along with another Canadian musician, Paul Jans. But if that doesn't do it for you, this album was produced by none other than Jim Vallance, and Jim Vallance is the main producer of Bryan Adams records, especially the 1980s albums, and it was also mastered by none other than Bob Ludwig. All right, but here we go. If that doesn't sell you, then we will go with their third album, My Town. Or sorry, Simple Mission, which is the third album, but the track on here, that's the big one, is My Town. And My Town, we talked about Rod Stewart earlier. Well, Rod Stewart was also a singer in the song My Town on here. And this is a band that if you want 1980s rock music, if you want pop, you want soft, slow music, Rescued by the Arms of Love, tracks like that, or their second album. So that one there was the third album, but if you want their second album, this one here I've got autographed by members of the band. But this one even has some of the Eastern Celtic feel. So this is the Diamond Sun album. And this is the one that has my song on it. So this the track My Song right there. Open Up Side 2. Which is a more Eastern Canadian, Eastern US feel to it, Celtic kind of a vibe. And this one here has my favorite Glass Tiger track on it, which is Far Away From Here. But Diamond Sun is a great track. Watching Worlds Crumble. I'm Still Searching. So that is how I'm going to try to sell you. I'm going to try to sell you by telling you that Glass Tiger, even though they weren't too famous outside of Canada, had famous musicians on their albums and famous producers and masters. Yeah, that brings it all together. So if you like any of that, go with some Glass Tiger. I'm going to try to sell you there. And the last prompt is, if you were to arrange a VC meetup, whether it was for coffee or a big party or something like that, invite 3 you'd like to meet up with. All right, so here's the deal. These questions are always tough, and I find them unfair sometimes because I don't want to exclude anyone. But I'm going to exclude certain people because while I haven't met them in person, I have met quite a few on Chris Mann's live stream, and of course our Wednesday night from the basement with Rob and Joe, of course, live from the basement. So if you haven't checked out our show, do so on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I have, obviously via these channels, I have virtually seen Chris Mann. And on Chris Mann's channel, I've also been paired up with Rob and Joe from, Racer Records and Northern Revolution's channel. I've also had the chance on both channels to meet, Brian from Embryonic Robot. I have met via the Chris Mann channel. I've spoken with David Atkinson, who has come up with all these questions on one of the live streams. Trevor from Flat Round and Spun, John from Music Talk. Of course, oh man, Richard from, Richard's Vinyl Tap House. Oh, there's so many. I'm running a blank on. Curtis from Young LP Lovers, and many, many more. If I have spoken to you virtually, I apologize, because I didn't write everybody down. Those are just the ones that I can think of. So I'm going to exclude you because I've met you virtually. So I'm going to go with ones that, they've definitely participated in the comment sections lots on a lot of my videos and things like that. So I am going to invite Vinyl Sean. I think Vinyl Sean he just seems like a really chill, mellow guy. And of course, Vinyl Sean and I have a definite affinity and commonality for Bruce Hornsby and the range. We're both huge fans. Next, I would invite Mark Morris, who I've talked to in the comments section on some of our live streams, but I've never been face-to-face virtually with Mark Morris. I know that him and I joke around every now and again about Iowa, and he talks about how boring it is, but I think that I would like to go and talk with Mark Morris. And as much as he's probably not a Slipknot fan, Slipknot's from Iowa, and we could have a conversation about, Iowa bands such as Slipknot. How's that? Morten Astad from Norway and Denmark, depending on where. I won a contest of his a couple of years ago, and once again, just interacting back and forth in the comments section. I'd like to meet him. And then the next one would be Lloyd, Mr. Hats down in Australia. And it'd be cool to meet Lloyd. Once again, we communicate through our videos in the comments section, but that would give me an excuse to go on the 27-hour plane ride and check out parts of Australia that I would love to see. And last but not least, Peter from Music is a Journey, always supporting my channel, and Mark from Twanger's Turntable. You never know when I'm passing through Montreal, or if I ever passing through Montreal, could go see Mark. He's mentioned my channel on his own. Peter from Music is a Journey sent me some VCLT a while back from Japan. And so once again, don't want to exclude anybody. This is always a tough question, but I will go with those. So we are at the 42-minute mark. Might be one of my longest videos yet. So I'm going to cut this short, and I hope that you enjoyed my Vinyl Tag Response 2026. David, thank you for hosting the unofficial questions. And let me know in the comment section what you think. And do your own vinyl tag. If you don't have a channel and you're thinking of doing one, this is a great way to get started. I mentioned this at the top of the show that the vinyl tag was my first interaction with the VC and got me started on my channel. So yeah, with that in mind, until next time, definitely be seeing you one more time in 2025 with a video in a few days. And until then, take care, everyone. And I hope everybody had a great Christmas and to a happy new year and a great 2026. Ciao for now. Daryl, the Northern Vinyl Guy. We'll see you next time.